Hello? Jesus Christ. Fuck you, dude. Jesus Christ. Oh, hey, you. Jesus, man. Yeah, there was somebody there. Yeah, listen, hey, I gotta ask you something. Do you do you believe in ghosts? So, 1959, House on Haunted Hill, starring the iconic and legendary, the master of horror, Vincent Price. What a guy, right? So, it's a story about a multi-millionaire who hires, well, he doesn't hire, what am I talking about? No, he invites, that's the word. I'm sorry, right? I'm so spooked, all right? And he invites multiple people to spend the night in the house on Haunted Hill. And if they stay the entire night, from whatever time they arrive, all the way until 8 a.m. the next morning, they would get $10,000 each. Where is this house? Somebody tell me. Somebody show me. So, it sounds like a simple little tale, you know. I mean, it sounds like a great event, right? You go to his house, stay for the entire night, get $10,000 for just staying. I mean, me personally, I would just lie in the bed, lock the doors, pull the covers over me, and just stay there until the next morning. That's what I would do. Shit, sounds like easy money, right? But it's never that easy. Of course it isn't. So, thus begins the story. They enter this big-ass house, and there's no host. You know, so they all enter, and they're like, where's the host? What do we... So they do what anybody should do. Help yourselves to a drink. Fuck it. So they pour themselves a drink, and a couple of ice, not ice cubes, just, we have the whiskey and you get those little cubes that you put in the freezer, you take them and you have little fancy clippy thingies and, they have that numerous times. So, yeah, and then they were introduced to their host, Vincent Price, legend, and he tells them that this is his wife's idea, and it's her birthday present, and it's all her idea. Like, for example, they all arrive in the house. Each individual arrives in the house in hearses. And it was the wife's idea. You know what I mean? Personally, I've always wanted to turn up at a wedding in a hearse and step out of that hearse wearing a full-on white tuxedo. I think I could pull that shit off. Can you imagine? So, the wife's never to be seen. Well, she is to be seen, but she's not to be seen at the beginning. You know, she tells her husband that she doesn't want to go to it. You know, and he's very adamant. Of course he is. And one of the guests nearly, I say nearly, I mean they nearly get crushed by a chandelier, which I don't know how the fuck the guy, his name was Lance, who saved her, the girl's name's Nora, like, he just happened to look up and he knew to grab her and pull her to the side and say, chandelier! Even though it wasn't even like fucking, like, you know, man must have some kind of fucking spider sense, I'll tell you that. So, they have some mishaps, and honestly, this horror movie, whenever I watched it when I was a kid. And I didn't technically sit down intentionally to watch it, but I seen clips of it while I was at my grandparents' house. And the one scene I remember distinctively, and it's the only scene I remembered as a kid, was whenever she opened a suitcase and there was a head in it. That was the only scene that I remembered as a kid. Like, from a kid, you know. The rest of the movie, I don't remember shit about it. It was just that one scene. That's all I remember. And on my recent watch, which was last night, I mean, there is a twist, and then there's one of those like scenarios that it makes you decide what the fuck happened. So, yeah, Nora near gets crushed by the chandelier, and as the rest of the movie goes on, she starts to see things. Like, she starts to see ghosts in dark hallways that appear and then just disappear in the background, which is a cool shot. And she sees heads in fucking suitcases. I mean, we've all seen those, right? Right? Just me then, huh? Fine. And Lance, her friend, who she obviously has, they both obviously have some kind of crush on each other, you know, runs into a door and the door slams behind him and he's in there and she slammed the door like, yo, Lance, open the door, Lance! And then she runs back up to the rest of the crew, the host and the rest of them, and all says, like, you know, Lance, you gotta come quick, you know, when they all run down. Said, the door's locked, look. And she opens it and the door opens. It's like, oh. And everybody's looking at her like, you crazy bitch. So the door opens, they go where Lance lying on the ground. And they're asking what happened. He doesn't speak, doesn't answer. And it was funny. He goes in and he was attacked, you know, and she talks about ghosts. And he's still adamant that they're not real. No. You know, he was technically attacked. Well, he wasn't technically attacked by one. But, yeah, so the whole movie, the way it plays out, like, it has ghosts and, like, everything else. But as you find out towards the end of it, and I won't say before I even go close to the end of it, and I will say spoilers, if you haven't seen this movie and you want to see it, spoilers are coming, there is a big twist in this. So if you don't want to hear the twists, you know, dive out the window now. Don't actually dive out the window, that would be a bit weird. But, you know, there is one thing before I get to that, which I do like. It's Vincent Price and his wife's banter towards each other. I really love that. I love the whole... You know, his whole, like, you'd kill me if you wanted to get my billions. And she's like, you know, oh, you know, I would never do. You know, they have that really fun banter towards each other, like the husband and wife thing, but it's a more twisted dynamic, which I really, really love. I really enjoyed it last night. I had a few Snickers and few smirks last night, you know, and it is brilliant. So onwards we get to, after all the ghosts and all the ghouls that are exposed and all the scares, there's primarily Nora that sees all of these things. She sees the ghost in the hallway appearing, disappearing. She sees the head in the suitcase. She sees, you know, other things. And then more than midway through the story, Vincent Price's wife, and yes, I know Vincent Price is the actor, not the character. I know this. I'm just saying. It's Vincent Price, dude. Gotta use the man's real name. His wife is found hung by the neck up the top of the staircase. So that's a big thing. Everyone's like, oh my god! So that spreads a big question. It's like a big fucking Cluedo thing. Like, who killed my wife? You know, she was there, rope around her neck. He was there, he were there. Who was closer? Well, you know, it was like a full-on game of Cluedo. And the rest of the characters are all pointing towards Vincent Price. He's the one with the motive. You know, Vincent Price is adamant that it's one of you. So it creates this entire, like, untrusted dynamic. So the detective says, you know, well, Lance says we should all go in our rooms. I said, I don't know about anybody else, but if someone walks into my room and I have a gun, yes, they're all handed guns, I may add, little tiny little coffins, little black coffins. How cute is that? I wish somebody would present a gun to me in a black coffin. Wait, no, right. So, yeah, he says that if somebody walks in my room and I have a gun, I'm going to shoot them. It's that simple. So they have this whole safe dynamic. And Nora says that she passed out somewhere and somebody grabbed her by the neck, and she's adamant that it was Vincent Price. So everyone's convinced that the host, Vincent Price, great mustache, is the mastermind and the fiend and the killer and the guy who's up to no good. So everybody goes into their rooms. You see this long shot panning down the hallway. If everybody walking down the hallway, one goes into the room, they continue walking, the next one goes in the room, continue now into their room, and until it's the last person, and they go into their room. It's really cool little shot. And so you find out later on that the doctor, not the detective, but yeah, the doctor actually goes into the room where Vincent's wife is, and you realize that they're both plotting. The wife wasn't actually dead. It was all a big conspiracy, a big plot to kill Vincent Price, his character. So they both come together and they say that, you know, the whole thing, like, they explain that the whole thing, the ghost like appeared in the hallway and disappeared, wasn't actually a ghost. It was one of the caretakers. And they explained everything in a logical explanation. So they have this thing where they have everyone as their plan was built up to have Vincent. Everyone's pointing at Vincent thinking he's a killer, so everyone's on edge. And so they sent Nora. Well, they didn't send Nora, but somehow, like, Nora decided to go down into the basement with a gun, paranoid and literally just paranoid as fuck and just, you know, overly hysterical as they described it. And then, of course, you eventually have Vincent Price's character walking down the stairs. She gets so paranoid seeing him, he's like, you know, Nora, and she shoots him. He falls. And Nora runs out in a big panic, like, runs up the stairs, and then out of the shadows comes one of the conspiracists, along, you know, the doctor. And, excuse me, he goes out, and he opens up this big-ass pool of fucking acid. And he grabs Vincent by the legs, pulls him close to the acid, ready to toss his ass in. And the lights go up. and all you hear is like a commotion, like, you know, a commotion like that. And the wife runs down eventually to try and find him. She looks in the pool and sees bones. And like, because one of the characters midway through, who's a really awesome character, and I'm sorry, but I can't remember his name at the moment, but he's the house owner, the homeowner, and he's so paranoid. And throughout the whole movie, he gets even more drunker and drunker. He's like, the ghosts are coming. He's like the most morbid cunt you could ever think of. He's like, the ghosts are coming. We're all dead, you know. He's the most morbid guy, but he's awesome. I like him. He seems so harmless. I can't remember his name, I'm sorry, but he described in the middle of the beginning of the movie when this hallway opened up, he said, down there, that pool, and it, you know, full of acid, that's where the murders were in the past. And he asks, is that still acid down there? And he grabs something, he throws it down and it starts to sizzle and burn. And he's like, well, yeah. You know. So we saw that early in the movie. So now, again, passing. Guy pulls Vincent Price's body towards the pool, about to toss him in, lights go off, commotion. Wife goes down and she looks at it, she sees a skull popping up in the pool, and she's panicking, and the skull like stands up as a full-on skeleton and goes towards her, scaring the absolute shit out of her. She's panicking, screaming, going to the doors are all locked, and then it goes around and scares her, and she goes at the edge of the pool by her, like the back, like scared, and then goes, puts his hand on her shoulder, and she panics, and then she falls into the pool and obviously dies. And out of the shadows, you just see Vincent Price walking up, like with this full-on fucking puppeteer fucking thing. And the one thing I was always wondering was, the skeleton just a prop, or was that the guy who tried to kill him before, who like sizzled and became a skull, and he took the actual skeleton out and turned it as a puppet? I was wondering that last night when I watched it. If so, that's some sadistic shit. But yeah, he comes on, he's like, you know, you two are plotting to murder me. And like Vincent Price with his legendary fucking monologues and speeches. You know, you're both trying to murder me, but you don't know that it was me that tried to murder you. The way his performance in this movie was unbelievable. And yeah, God, what a guy. So that's pretty much, the movie pretty much ends there. You know, it's everyone's just like, you know, what? So the whole question this asks at the end of this movie was, were there ghosts? Or was it all primarily, mostly in Nora's head? Or, you know, because they did describe practical, logical explanations as in terms of a plot and a plan. And Nora seeing the head in the suitcase. So it begs the question, was there actually ghosts in this movie? Or was it all part of the logical explanation? You know, it makes you wonder. But, so yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say they've earned their $10,000. Fuck yeah, they earned it. So, that is The House on Haunted Hill, 1959, and for anybody who doesn't know, there is a remake of this movie many years later, which I will get to and I will cover. So yeah, if I were to rate this movie, give it a score out of 10, I would give it, in terms of my enjoyment, but I'm not talking about enjoyment, there's flaws, but I would say, I'd have to say 7 out of 10. You know, 7 out of 10, because it was a really well-planned movie. The plot was really well-planned. There was plot twists you wouldn't have seen coming. It was so well done, and, you know, because it was in black and white, it had even bigger impact. You know, I always did say that old black and white horror movies had a bigger impact than today. You know, something about it. You know, practical over CGI any day. So it was a kick-ass movie. So, and I would totally suggest, if you haven't seen it, watch it. You can actually watch it on YouTube for free. That's where I watched it. You can get the whole movie on YouTube for free. Just type in House on Haunted Hill 1959 and you'll get it. It's only just over an hour long. It's totally worth a watch. Even if you're having dinner or you want to put something on, just watch it while you're having your dinner. You pretty much have the whole movie watched by then. Totally suggest it. So, yeah. And if you're still watching, thank you so much. If you like this video, like, subscribe. And yeah, thank you for watching. And, well, you know yourself. Don't kill anyone.